Good afternoon. This is Joe Iacono with GoBlackKnights.com here with 2022 center rising firstie and Army football co-captain Connor Bishop. How you doing today, Connor?
Good. It's good to be here, Joe. Thank you.
Good. So how's that sound? First of all, Army football co-captain Connor Bishop.
Yeah, it's great. It's a phenomenal honor. I think it's the best honor you can have is to be voted captain by your peers, and I'm excited.
It's good stuff. Yeah. So Connor, why don't you give the fans out there just some vitals on you? Obviously, we know you're center, know you're a rising firstie. Where are you from in the U.S.? Where did you play your high school ball? And maybe your major at West Point and what you're looking to branch potentially, even though I know that decision's about 6 months away.
Yes, sir. I'm from doing this at home right now, so we've got
Yeah,
kids.
that's cool. Glad you guys get to go home once every couple of years. That's a win.
Yes, sir. I'm from Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia. I went to Archbishop Wood High School down there, and now I'm I'm a business management major. Thinking about infantry. I like infantry right now. And yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, Connor, I had the privilege before the Georgia State game last year to actually walking through the tunnel and had about a 2-minute conversation with your mom. So I know you've been raised very well. She's super nice lady, probably younger than me. So it was super cool getting to meet your mom. She had a lot of great things to say. So that was really exciting. So anyway, how did spring practice go for you? You know, I know Coach Monken a lot of times likes to keep the veterans, especially if you've had a lot of playing time like you did, give you guys a little rest, make sure you don't get injured. Did you get a lot of reps in spring practice? Were you kind of resting, mentoring the younger offensive linemen? How did that go?
Yes, sir. I'd say there was a lot of mentoring going on for the younger offensive linemen, and they certainly received the bulk of the reps. We each still have, even guys who have played, 20 or more games, still have a lot of things that they need to work on. So I was still out there, and I had those little technique and schematic stuff that I wanted to go out there and work on and get better at. So it was a good mixture of both. I would say definitely the younger guys took the majority of the reps just because we need to get them caught up to speed. But
good. And how is the new version of the mob, I guess the 2022 version, the offensive line gelling and starting to come along? How's that going? If you want to give shout outs to a couple of guys, feel free to as well.
yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So we're young. We have myself, Connor Finucane, and Booby Law are kind of the guys that have played meaningful snaps. But we've got a lot of guys who need to step up, and I think they are starting to step up. Sam Barzak's one of them. Aiden Gaines. I think Aiden Gaines is going to be a really good player. I was really impressed with Will Jeffcoat, who's a freshman who had a great spring. Along with a handful of other guys. David Hayward kind of took a step forward in the right direction, which I was happy to see. And also Simon Dellinger and Shane Buckingham who are moving their tackles, who just moved from tight end. Shane actually played quarterback back in high school. So
yeah.
he's
the high school Shane played at, it's about 10 minutes from my house. So
okay. Yeah.
I live about halfway between his high school and Marquell's high school. So
okay. Yeah. So obviously there's a lot of transition going from quarterback to tight end to tackle, and he did a great job this year. So we're young. We're big. We're bigger than we have in the past, and I think we've got a really good attitude, which is good. And at this point in the year, that's about the most you can ask for, because there's going to be mistakes and there's going to be guys who have some growing pains. But as long as you can keep a great attitude and a great effort, that really is the most important thing at this point.
Absolutely. And kind of speaking to what you just mentioned about how big the O-line is, which is great. How did your offseason strength and conditioning, how's that been going so far? And what's your current height weight?
Mm-hmm. When Coach Vitti came in and took over, and it's always been a priority, but he really doubled down that, being bigger was going to be a priority. And so we've all done that. And, we're taking the supplements that you're supposed to, the stuff that just the vitamins and whatnot that that helps, which is going to help us a lot. And then just generally, the biggest thing for me is just focusing on my weight, and a lot of other guys too. So, and then I don't put too much thought into what we're doing in the weight room, because I know that Coach Hughes is going to do a great job. So in terms of my weight, just eating more protein shakes before you go to bed and things like that. Right now, about 275, starting to get to the 280 range, which we'll see. I don't necessarily have a weight that I'm set on playing at right now, but we'll see how I feel as I keep gaining weight. But I think it's important for our position group in general just to be a little bit bigger this year, which is something that across the board we're getting a lot heavier.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think the Army fans will be excited about that. If you look back at the 2018 team and how dominant they were running the ball, I think one of the things that stood out with that team, with guys like Bryce Holland and Brett Toth, was the size. But just really unusual for an Army team. So yeah, it'd be cool to get a little more weight, get a little more strength on the offensive line. You mentioned him real briefly, and this was one of the questions that I wanted to hit on. You have a new position coach. Obviously, Coach Davis is always very heavily involved with the offensive line, but Coach Vitti is kind of known among the Army fan base and the grads as being just a great coach, great all-around guy, incredible motivator. What's it been like working with Coach Vitti the last couple months?
It's awesome. I've always been, to a certain extent, a little bit jealous of the B-backs for getting to be around Coach Vitti as much as they have been. He's relatable because he's been through the experience himself, and just his mindset and what he brings to the table is just perfect for our culture, and it really fits into the offensive line culture as well and what we want to be. And I mean, I think I'm a little biased. I think it was the perfect hire though, and I think I've told Coach Davis that. I'm really excited about that. It's he's going to be great for our culture, and obviously there's some of the technical details that we need to get caught up to speed on, as does anybody. But kind of like I said earlier, at this point in the game, if the attitude and the effort are in the right spot, then the rest will follow suit. And he brings those two things to practice every single day.
Absolutely. So, being a center in Army's offense, obviously different from maybe being a center in a pass heavy offense or, spread RPO type of scheme. You guys are firing off the ball a lot more, a lot of different blocking schemes. That's kind of, the thing that I think the casual fan doesn't see is how many different ways you guys can block a simple trap or a dive potentially. And it's something I really enjoy watching the Army games on CBS Sports. I love coming in person too, but I think Ross Tucker does a pretty good job breaking down some of the blocking and stuff for everybody. So what do you think are some of the most difficult things or interesting things about playing center in an offense like Army's?
Yeah, playing center and playing just offensive line in general, you really have to become a smart football player. And that's the biggest thing. It's just you can, at a traditional school, you might be able to get away with memorizing what the plays are going to be. Like if it's, I'm going to do this on this certain play, but in this offense, there's, like you said, there's so many ways that we can block things that you just can't possibly memorize them all. That you need to just, you need to understand what the play is and what we're trying to get accomplished, and that's why we're going to block it this way. And it produces smart football players who come out of it, which is very interesting. And I'd say the other interesting part about it is just with all these different ways that things can be blocked and different defenses, how they play us, what we run. It's just you never reach a point where you're very happy with your game. There's always something else that you can look at to improve. And I mean, there's just so many different just nuances in the game and stuff like that. So you always have something where you can look at and say, okay, that's what I'm focused on getting better at.
Yeah. So along those lines, last season when I I would do a lot of my post-game articles and everything, and was just kind of watching the Army games a couple of times so I could see everything. Just my personal observation and the observation of a lot of the fans on goblackknights.com is the offense just seemed to click better when you were in there at center and just seemed to move the ball a little better. I know you're a real humble guy like most Army football players are, but what do you think are some of the strengths that you bring to the position and to the offensive line that can really help the offense get going?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't take full credit for that. I think a big part of that was just, I mean, that was what was normal. That's what we've been practicing with. And when I went down, then Noah had to move over, and then we had to have guys. So my injury last year, just kind of the structure of the offense, we had to move a couple of different guys around, which, might have led to that. I think we were still clicking pretty well even when I was out, just from my observation. But just there was a little bit of normalcy, at least for me, coming back and being able to play again, and it did feel like we were clicking again, just because we had been doing it together that exact way for 2 years now. So
good stuff. And speaking of your injury, how's your health going into the summer and fall? Is the injury fully rehabbed, pretty close to 100%?
Yes, I feel good. I feel good going into the season.
Awesome. And tell everybody kind of what your summer is going to look like, militarily, academically, as well as football. We got, I guess, graduations tomorrow. And then, kind of what your summer training is going to look like going into, all that stuff, I guess.
Yes, sir. So we finished our finals last Friday. And then I came back home for this week. I'm actually going to go back up for graduation tomorrow, just to support some of those guys who are graduating. And then see next Monday. So we've got the rising seniors go do cadet leader development training, CLDT, out at Camp Buckner. Around the same time, all the rising sophomores go over to Camp Buckner and do cadet field training, CFT. And then the rising juniors, they're currently right down at Fort Campbell doing CTLT, where they kind of shadow lieutenants in the Army. So we each kind of break up and we do our own summer training, mainly based on class year.
Yep.
And then we come back earlier in June and just get back into, guys are going to be taking classes, guys are going to be lifting, or we're all going to be lifting, but some guys will be taking classes. And we'll do that for just about up until fall camp starts.
Good stuff. How did TEs go for you?
It went well. Felt good with it. I saw my grades earlier this week, and
good.
I was happy with them.
Well, always a super stressful time as a cadet. That was good to know. Okay. And really the kind of the last question I have for you, I talked with Jamel Jones yesterday and closed with the same question for him. As you go into your first year, you guys had a great season last year, obviously 9-4, retained the CIC trophy, beat an SEC power in Missouri in the bowl game in a dramatic comeback win, accomplished a lot. But I think for all Army football players, coaches, grads, everything else, the one missing piece of the resume last year was, of course, the rivalry game against the Academy from Maryland. And, sure, that had to leave a bad taste in your mouth. I know Coach Monken does a great job focusing on the team on what's ahead of them. So I know you're focused on having a great fall camp in Coastal Carolina right now. But how excited are you to get back on the field against your arch rivals and right that situation?
Yeah, I mean, there's not about a day that goes by that as a team, this isn't addressed by somebody. Just it's constantly we're being reminded, and it's important to look forward to the team ahead. It's also important to look back and say this is what we've learned from this game. And as you kind of mentioned, that game really that game's the measuring stick and how you measure your career as an Army football player. And whether fair or not, that's just the way it is. Right. I'm excited to get back out there. I'm excited to get another crack at it, a last crack at it, and that measuring stick game, be able to do it on our terms.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, Connor. Appreciate it. Enjoy your short time at home and have a good, safe flight back up to West Point for graduation later. Thank you very much. Again, Army fans, this has been Joe Iacono with GoBlackKnights.com, along with Army football co-captain, rising first East center, Connor Bishop. Thank you very much. Go Army, beat Navy.
Thank you.